Good morning, everyone. The Melanin mantra, Blackie, Madrasi, Kala Kawa. So dark, this appearance will not get you anywhere. You look like the maid in the house. Too dark, you can never be an actor. These were words spoken on real people, victims of colorism, who shared their stories with me. Let me highlight a couple of their stories for you. Consider Sapna, who told herself, I am not fair enough to be married. Sapna did not for a moment think that her marriage proposal to a doctor who had a physical disability was a disadvantage. But to Sapna's parents and the groom's parents, she was simply too dark to be married. Everything else that Sapna was or had accomplished till then did not matter. Or what about Anna, who was just 15 years old? And she wrote to me saying, I have used fairness products on my face, despite the rashes they caused. In fact, my parents gave them to me. My friends would bully me saying that if I stood in front of the blackboard, I would be invisible. There are hundreds and thousands of Annas and Sapnas out there who are hurting. For this reason, we started the Dark is Beautiful campaign in 2009 to address the toxic belief that a person's worth is measured by the color of their skin. The word colorism was first coined and used by Alice Walker, a Pulitzer Prize novelist, who used it to define preferential treatment of same-race people solely based on their skin color. Colorism is different from racism in that here the light skin privilege is extended to people within one's own race. And one of the best examples of colorism is the brown paper bag test phenomenon that existed in African American communities in the 20th century. To gain entry into some of the elite clubs and gatherings, one's skin color had to match the brown paper bag that was stuck on the entrance. Your skin had to match it or be lighter than that to gain entry. This probably was an overflow of the practice of white slave owners who allowed the dark-skinned slaves to work within their homes as maids and chefs, whereas the dark-skinned ones were made to work in the plantations. This sense of privilege among the light-skinned slaves continued long after slavery was abolished. The science of skin color in itself is a very interesting topic of study. People in the southern hemisphere are darker than those in the northern regions. And science tells us that melanin in our skin protects us from sun damage in the southern regions where the intensity of the sun is too much and too harsh on the skin. Melanin in our skin protects us from sun damage. Melanin is also the pigment that gives our skin, our eyes, and our hair their color. But apart from all this, melanin also adds to the beauty of the human race with its different hues of skin shades. Now, this diversity of skin shades is to be embraced and celebrated. But instead, evolving culture, owing to factors like power and affluence of those in the northern regions, imbibed Eurocentric norms that made white skin the color of privilege. Let's talk for a moment about colorism in India. In India, colorism has its own variables intersecting with issues like caste, class, and gender. Neha Mishra, one of the researchers on colorism, talks about how social acceptability in India depends more than on one's skin color, of course. But skin color does seem to matter. For instance, a high caste person who's dark skinned is discriminated against. And it is true also what some other researchers claim, that the darkest shades of skin in India is found among the Dalits and the Shudras. One of the reasons for this could be their working conditions out in the harsh sun, as well as their poverty. In India, we also have what we can call as skin color hierarchy. We find people saying, I'm not that dark, maybe wheatish, dusky. Within the spectrum of dark skin shades, we discriminate against those who are the darkest. Those who are dark, they themselves discriminate those who are darker than themselves. The lighter you are, the privileged you feel. And when it comes to gender and colorism, we would all agree that beauty is gendered. And the color of beauty in India is white. There is immense pressure, especially on women, to fit that stereotype. Up until recently, whitening products were only available for women. And even today, families struggle to accept the birth of a dark-skinned girl child. Now that we've defined colorism and explored briefly its variables, I want to draw our attention to something very important. There could be a host of reasons why colorism exists today. But we should be careful not to ignore the influence of neocolonialists. Neocolonialists are those with the economic power to exploit the vulnerable. They are knowingly or unknowingly establishing a Eurocentric ideal of power and beauty. The neocolonialists endorsing and reinforcing colorism today are toxic media and the cosmetic industry. The violence of unfair advertising is often ignored. One of my friends related to me how her daughter, after watching a whitening commercial on screen, kept washing her face over and over again in an attempt to whiten it so she could look like the model on the screen. We have allowed the neocolonialists to convince our children that to be dark-skinned is abnormal or dirty. But then the neocolonialists could be us, with our colonial hangover mindsets that we are relentlessly holding on to. Even if all the whitening products today were banned, we would still have colorism thriving here because we would be running to age-old toxic beauty treatments to keep it alive. We discriminate against our own in our families and communities. And that is because the colonialist ideal, which has contributed to the colorist ideal, has penetrated our minds and it has invaded our culture. It influences our practices, our choices, and our everyday conversations. It is as if there is an invisible brown paper bag stuck on the entrance of our minds, telling us how to process and treat those with dark skin tones. One of the things we need to remember when we're talking about colorism is that it is, until recently, a hugely under-addressed issue. And it continues to still be an under-researched phenomenon. When we initiated the Dark is Beautiful campaign in 2009, the challenges we faced range from people telling us that this is a non-issue to why don't you focus on other graver issues. We were told that skin color is a matter of one's cosmetic preference. We were also told that we are fighting a billion-dollar industry and that we are too small to fight it. But we still went ahead and did it. And today, because of the concerted effort of campaigns such as ours, corporations are beginning to open their eyes. But we also fought it for the sake of the victims whose stories of pain and trauma was too hard to ignore. Colorism contributes to low self-esteem. It lowers the confidence levels of individuals. It is as if you keep telling them you are unworthy over and over again. I have met hugely talented people with a misplaced view of themselves because of all that they've been told all their lives because of their dark skin tone. And the ones most affected by it are children, based on a survey we undertook before the launch of the Dark is Beautiful campaign. Colorism cannot be trivialized. It has contributed to the mental health pandemic the world was dealing with today. It is as serious as convincing more than half the world's population that they are misfits if they don't do something about changing their skin color. So in all fairness, colorism should be made a public health issue. And to add to this, scientific research today says that there is a syndrome called topical steroid-dependent phase. And this is caused by unsupervised use, misuse, and abuse of topical corticosteroids people use on their face for prolonged periods of time. And people also resort to other whitening treatments which contain hydroquinone and other carcinogenic substances. Colorism cannot be trivialized. It is a public health issue. So what is the solution? Here are 3 simple solutions from the heart of the Dark is Beautiful campaign. Celebrate, anticipate, participate. Celebrate dark skin tones. The good news about the story of Sapna is that Sapna is today happily married. The impact of the campaign has helped thousands of men, women, and children regain their confidence. There are hundreds of stories out there of surviving, people who've survived skin color discrimination. We need to identify those stories and celebrate their victories. We need to help victims of colorism get comfortable in their own skin. People sometimes say to me, I am dark, but I have other talents. No, that narrative is not going to help. I am dark and talented and beautiful and handsome, and I'm worth it. That is the narrative we need to usher in. So don't ever apologize for your skin color. It is not an impediment. Embrace it and be proud. Secondly, anticipate change. Colorism is not going to disappear overnight, so we need to keep pushing for change. We should not be surprised today if our children and teenagers, and probably most of you here probably have issues of mental health. It is common. I have a child and she struggles with confidence levels. And there is eating disorders among our teenagers. One of the reasons for this is what they see on their screen. They keep watching 10% of the world's population that is fair, thin, tall, and probably with straight hair. Representation matters. We need to push for change. Keep pushing for it. Anticipating change also has to do with challenging the corporates and the advertising industry and toxic media. We need to challenge them to stop selling discriminatory products and toxic advertising. We need to challenge the damaging narrative that they use, saying, we give people what they want. But if media and corporates join hands, they can actually change what people want. Anticipate change. And finally, participate in the change. Pick a fight against colorism in your world of influence. Don't leave the fight to just nonprofits and social activists. There's only so much that we can do. Confront colorism in your own way, in your world. Use the arts, music, drama, painting, films. Use technology and social media. Change workplace policies to be more inclusive. Challenge matrimonial columns. Sensitize educators and children. But most importantly, disrupt the norm in your own homes. But we need more than arguments and slander. We need creative conversations and innovative ways that can alter our mindsets and attitude. You will be surprised to see that we are all biased if we really looked hard within ourselves. We all need to change and participate in the change. Now, skin color is one of our given identities. To want to or be pressured to change it is an offense, I believe, against humanity. Melanin is not our enemy. In fact, melanin is our mantra that gives us our unique identities. So be proud of your melanin. And let me tell you a secret. If you feel like a misfit today because of your skin tone, then you are a blessing to society. Because you're the only one who can show the world what it means to be comfortable in your own skin. So celebrate who you are. Or maybe the first fight you may have to pick up is with yourself and how you see your skin tone. Be proud to be your shade of beautiful and handsome. And as you push for change, create hope in the hearts and minds of people, because dark is beautiful. Thank you.